You just threw away 3 containers that could keep your family alive, while prepper channels are selling $200 buckets of freeze-dried mystery powder. You're tossing glass jars into recycling, crushing plastic bottles, and throwing them in the trash. And right now, someone is about to dump containers worth more than gold when the supply chain fails. Stop, don't throw them away, because what I'm about to show you isn't cute homesteading tricks or prepper forum fantasies. This is the same physics and chemistry that kept people alive when their neighbors starved to death, fighting over empty shelves. Here's the secret the prepper industry desperately doesn't want you to know. Those $200 branded meal kits and premium packaging systems with celebrity endorsements. They're not using magic technology. They're using basic oxygen removal and barrier materials. Then they slap a logo on it, call it proprietary, charge you 10 times more. 3 containers in your recycling bin right now will preserve rice beans, wheat, and flour. The oxygen barrier principles are identical. The chemical reactions are identical. The shelf life is identical. The only difference is the brand name and your empty wallet. In one of my previous videos about ready-made survival food kits, we talked about commercial long-term storage. If you missed that one, go back and watch it. Because what we're covering today builds on those principles. Today, I'm showing you how to store food effectively, and almost for free brutal physics and naked truth just like always. We're covering general storage principles now, but prepare yourself, coming soon I'll be releasing videos. Breaking down each food type individually, wheat, rice, beans, flour, each one gets its own deep dive. Because the details matter when your life depends on it. Here's exactly what you're getting first, the actual science of food degradation, and how oxygen removal extends shelf life from months to decades. Not hand-waving, not mysticism, pure chemistry, backed by lab data. Second, 3 container systems that cost nothing or almost nothing. Glass jars you already own. PET bottles from beverages. Mylar bags reused multiple times. Third, the complete step-by-step process, including exact failure points where amateurs kill themselves. Fourth, which foods work and which foods will give you botulism if packaged wrong. Fifth, real-world examples from disasters where stored food kept people alive while others died. No fluff, no filler, just actionable intelligence that works. Whether you've got a $1,000 budget or $10 and a pile of empty jars, the principles scale, the methods scale your budget, determines how fast you build reserves. But the physics doesn't change, let's go. The science, they don't explain why food dies and how to stop it. Food doesn't just go bad, that's baby talk for people who don't understand chemistry. Food degrades through measurable chemical processes, and every single one requires oxygen. Oxidation breaks down fats into rancid compounds that will make you sick. Aerobic bacteria multiply and produce toxins that can kill you. Insect eggs hatch and larvae devour your supplies from inside the container. All of this stops dead when oxygen concentration drops below 1%, that's your magic number. Below 1% oxygen life as we know it ceases no insects, no mold, no bacterial multiplication, no fat oxidation, no decay, only silence and preservation. This is why those expensive number 10 cans work. They're not magic, they're just steel containers. And yes, number 10 cans are excellent for home storage. The shelf life is proven, the durability unmatched. But empty cans run $2 to $5 each at specialty stores like Be Ready Foods or Rainy Day Foods. Then you need a can sealer that costs $1,500 at places like Walmart for the all-American manual sealer. Or you can buy pre-filled number 10 cans from Mountain House or Emergency Essentials at $60 to $100 each. But here's the dirty secret the industry won't tell you. You don't need steel. You need an oxygen barrier. Glass provides a perfect oxygen barrier. PET plastic provides acceptable protection. Mylar provides excellent resistance. All 3 work with the same 20-cent tool called oxygen absorbers. These are little packets filled with iron powder and salt. When exposed to oxygen, the iron rusts. In a chemical reaction that binds oxygen into iron oxide until nothing is left to rust with. The absorbers pull oxygen levels down to 0.01% 100 times lower than vacuum sealing, and 500 times lower than just sealing a Ziploc bag. Lab testing shows Mylar bags with absorbers. Reach residual oxygen of 0.1% within 24 hours, 10 times lower than vacuum sealing, and 50 times lower than nitrogen, flushing at approximately 5%. Once you understand this, you realize you've been lied to about needing expensive equipment. You need basic containers and 20-cent oxygen absorber packets, that's it. The rest is marketing designed to separate you from your money. When empty shelves become reality. You remember March 2020, right? I know you do. Because some of you watching right now were the ones who didn't panic. You were the ones who stayed home while neighbors fought over rice at Walmart. You had food they didn't, and I bet some of you felt satisfaction. Watching that chaos unfold from the safety of your pantry, COVID-19 lockdowns began within 72 hours. Grocery store shelves looked like war zones. Toilet paper sections completely bare, pasta aisles, empty rice, gone canned. Goods wiped out. This wasn't theoretical collapse or some prepper fantasy. This was modern wealthy nations brought down. Governments brought to their knees by panic buying and supply disruptions. Switzerland saw supermarket shelves for rice flour and pasta remain empty for weeks during March and April 2020. Not because there was no food in the country, but because the supply chain failed under sudden demand. Germany reported similar scenes. United States stores implemented purchase limits on basic staples. Canada saw flour shortages that lasted months, a reminder of fragile abundance collapsing overnight. By September 2021, supply chain issues were still creating empty shelves. Walk into any American or European supermarket and you saw gaps where products used to be. Electronics were 40 percentage points above normal stockout levels. Food and beverages 30 points higher. This continued through 2022 and 2023 with items cycling through shortages. Baby formula eggs, butter chicken all vanished from shelves in rotating waves of scarcity. The uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud is that modern supply chains are optimized for efficiency, not resilience. Retailers hold 1 to 3 weeks of non-perishable stock total between stores and warehouses, fresh produce measured in days. When demand spikes or supply disrupts, there's zero buffer, the system fails immediately. And here's the really scary part that was just a pandemic with functioning government and eventual recovery. Imagine an actual long-term crisis, but we're not here to imagine, we're here to prepare. And the first method costs you nothing. Method 1. Glass jars, the indestructible archive. Glass jars are your gold standard for free food storage containers. Every pickle jar, pasta sauce jar, mayonnaise jar you recycle is a potential 30-year food vault. Glass provides both a complete oxygen barrier and a complete moisture barrier for dry goods. It's non-porous, inert, doesn't leach chemicals, and it's rodent-proof. The only downsides are weight and fragility, but if you're storing at home, neither matters. But before you start collecting jars, you need to know the one mistake that ruins everything. Here's the protocol. First, clean your jars, obsessively hot soapy water, then sanitize. You can sterilize jars and lids in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes. This kills any bacteria that could contaminate your food. Pay special attention to lids where growth hides. If the lid has even a tiny bit of rust mold or damage, throw it out immediately. You're storing food for decades, don't cut corners on a 5-cent lid. Second, drop your oxygen absorber in the bottom. Before you fill, why the bottom? Because you're greedy like I am, and you want maximum food in that jar. Bottom placement means you can fill to within a 1/4 inch of the rim. For quart jars, use 100 cubic centimeter absorber. For half-gallon jars, use 300. The absorber won't hurt anything. If you use too much but too little, means oxygen remains. Better to overkill than underkill. Third, fill the jar, wipe the rim clean so you get a perfect seal, and hand tighten the lid. Don't crank it down like you're trying to crush the jar, hand tight is sufficient. Within 12 to 24 hours, the absorber does its work and the lid pops down audibly. Some wide mouth jars seal, but don't pop audibly. Don't panic, as long as the lid is tight, you're fine. If you want to verify, open the jar after a week. If the lid was hard to remove, you had a good seal. Fourth, label everything with contents and date, use permanent marker directly on the jar or tape. In 5 years, you won't remember if that white powder is flour or powdered milk. and you definitely won't remember when you packaged it. Don't trust your memory. Your memory is garbage. Write it down. Fifth, store in a cool, dark, dry location. Glass doesn't block light perfectly. Light degrades nutrients and causes off flavors over time. A closet works, a basement works. A pantry with a door works. Don't store them in direct sunlight on a shelf. And expect miracles. Physics doesn't care about your convenience. This method works for white rice, wheat berries, rolled oats, pasta, white flour, dried beans. Dried lentils, dried split peas, powdered milk, white sugar without an oxygen absorber. Do not use this for brown rice due to oil content that goes rancid. Whole wheat flour due to oil content. Anything with visible oil or anything moist enough to bend. Real documented case, a prepper community member stored wheat berries in mason jars in 2000. 20 years later, in 2020, they opened several jars to test quality. The wheat was perfect. Ground it into flour-baked bread tasted completely normal. No degradation, no off flavors, no problems. 20-year shelf life achieved with repurposed jars and oxygen absorbers that cost pennies. That's not hype. That's someone who actually did it and reported results. Now let's talk about something lighter and portable. Method 2. PET plastic bottles. Lightweight freedom. PET or peat plastic bottles are those clear, rigid bottles that held soda juice, Gatorade, or Powerade. Look for the number 1 inside the recycling triangle on the bottom. Studies show PET bottles last. Practical testing shows they work much longer. These bottles are FDA approved for food contact. PET plastic does not contain BPA and never has. PET is chemically different from polycarbonate. But here's what nobody tells you about plastic bottles. It could save your life or poison your family. Here's the critical part. Most amateurs miss not all plastic bottles work. Do not use milk jugs. They're designed to degrade quickly and won't provide oxygen barrier. Do not use thin, collapsible, disposable water bottles. They're too flimsy and leak air. Do not use bottles that held anything inedible or with strong odor like vinegar that smell never leaves. Use bottles that originally held beverages. Soda bottles work great. Juice bottles work. Sports drink bottles like Gatorade and Powerade are ideal smaller one, serving to 1-quart sizes. Larger 2-liter soda bottles work for bulk storage. The process is simple. Wash bottles thoroughly with hot soapy water and let them dry completely. Any moisture left inside creates environment for bacterial growth. Once dry, drop absorber in first. For bottles up to 1 gallon, use a 300 cubic centimeter absorber. Fill the bottle using a paper funnel if needed, tap it down to settle contents. Clean the rim, screw the lid on tight, and seal the lid edge with duct tape or electrical tape. The tape serves 2 purposes. It prevents the lid from loosening over time, and it tells you at a glance if the container has been compromised. If the tape is broken or the seal is damaged, you know someone opened it. This matters in long-term storage where you might have dozens of bottles, and you need to verify integrity quickly without opening everything. PET bottles are not rodent-proof. Mice can chew through plastic in minutes if motivated. Store them inside metal trash cans with tight lids or plastic totes with locking lids, or in an area where rodents cannot access them. A mouse chewing 10 bottles ruins months. Don't give rodents the opportunity. This method works for the same foods as glass jars, dry goods with low moisture. The shelf life is shorter than glass, but still measured in years, not months. Multiple preppers documented storing wheat in soda bottles that remained edible 15 years later. The wheat ground into flour, normally baked into bread without problems, tasted fine. Free containers, 15-year shelf. Life zero excuses. But what if you need to store even more and you want maximum flexibility? Method 3. Mylar bags, the reusable surprise. Everyone knows about Mylar bags for long-term storage, but most people don't know. You can reuse them. Multiple times, every reuse makes the bag smaller because you cut off the sealed portion. If you can reuse it 3 or 4 times, the economics change completely. A $5 Mylar bag used once is expensive, but used 4 times is cheap enough for anyone. And there's one way to use Mylar that makes it even cheaper. But first, you need to understand why this material is different. Mylar is metallized polyester film aluminum bonded to plastic, creating an excellent oxygen barrier, a complete moisture barrier, and complete protection from light. Properly sealed Mylar bags last decades. Oxygen absorbers inside keep food fresh for 25 to 30 years, but Mylar bags are not rodent-proof. Mice and rats chew through them, easily store-filled Mylar bags inside rigid containers. Food-grade buckets or totes the final defense against rodents and time itself. To use a new Mylar bag, place it upright. Drop in your oxygen absorber. Fill the bag with food, leaving 2 inches at the top. Squeeze out excess air gently. Seal the top with a heat source hair straightener, flat iron clothing iron, or impulse sealer. You're melting plastic layers together to create an airtight bond press heat, slowly 1 inch per second. Let it cool for 30 seconds, check the seal by pulling gently. If it holds firm, you're good. If it tears at the seal, you didn't heat enough, or had wrinkles, try again an inch lower. To reuse a Mylar bag, cut off the sealed top edge with scissors. Wash thoroughly with hot soapy water. Rinse well, let it dry completely. For at least 24 hours, any moisture will cause problems. Once completely dry, refill and reseal exactly like a new bag. Lose 1 to 2 inches each time. Eventually the bag becomes too small to be useful, but you'll get 3 to 5 uses before that happens. For sugar or salt, do not use an oxygen absorber. These foods don't need oxygen removal. They have indefinite shelf life as long as they stay dry. Packaging them with absorber ruins them. Hard as a rock, just seal them in Mylar with no absorber or airtight container instead. For Mylar, thickness 5 ml is standard. 7 ml is better, but more expensive. Thicker bags resist punctures, better provide slightly stronger oxygen barrier, but 5 ml is adequate. Don't waste money on 3 ml or 4 ml bags, they're too fragile for long-term storage. They will tear easily during handling. Fragile bags are a liability in survival preparation. A documented case from online prepper communities. A family stored white rice in 5-gallon Mylar bags inside food-grade buckets in 2002. 20 years later, in 2022, they opened one bucket to check quality before rotating stock. The rice was perfect, cooked, normally tasted normal, no degradation, 0 problems reported. 20-year shelf life in Mylar bags, reused multiple times for different food items. And now here's that trick I mentioned, the one that makes this even more cost-effective. Let's pause here. We've established oxygen removal is the key to long-term food storage. Not expensive packaging designed to separate you from your money. We've covered glass jars already. Free and best oxygen barrier, but heavy and breakable. PET plastic bottles are next. FDA-approved BPA-free adequate oxygen barrier for 10 to 15 years minimum. Mylar bags reusable 3 to 5 times, versatile for different package sizes. Excellent shelf life. But they require rodent-proof secondary containers, the final defense against time and vermin. All 3 methods use the same oxygen absorbers, costing 20 cents each. All 3 methods work with the same physics and chemistry. Documented real-world examples exist. People storing food for 15 to 20 plus years with perfect results. Now let's talk about the mistake that kills people, and I mean that literally. This next section could save your life, or the life of someone you care about. If you want to keep your family safe when the system fails, subscribe. We analyze what others ignore. The comment section is open. Tell me what you've used successfully. Tell me where you failed. We learn from both. This channel focuses on real risks, real physics, real chemistry, documented survival strategies that work when grocery stores run empty. Government aid takes weeks to arrive. No tactical cosplay. No doomsday hysteria. Just science. The deadly mistake. Moisture and botulism. Here's where amateurs die. Food stored long-term must have moisture content below 10%. Must be low in fat, above 10% moisture, with oxygen removed, creates anaerobic environment. Clostridium botulinum thrives. That's the bacteria producing botulinum toxin, one of the most lethal substances. A few micrograms kills an adult. The margin for error is razor thin. Foodborne botulism has killed people even with modern medical treatment available. Even with antitoxin and mechanical ventilation, about 5% of cases still die. June 2024, 8 people in California developed botulism from improperly canned prickly pear. 6 went to intensive care, 2 needed machines to breathe for them. They survived only because they got to hospitals immediately. The bacteria spores are everywhere in soil and dust. They're on your food already. They survive boiling, only die at temperatures above 240 degrees Fahrenheit, which requires pressure canning for wet foods and dry storage. The issue is different. If your food has too much moisture, removing oxygen creates perfect conditions for spores. Germinate and produce toxin invisible but lethal. The margin for error razor thin. How to prevent this: only store bone-dry foods with oxygen absorbers. If it bends instead of snapping when you break it, it's too moist. Store it differently, or dehydrate it further first for home canning. Always use pressure canner. Boiling water bath at 212 degrees is only safe for high-acid foods. Follow USDA guidelines. Exactly, don't use old family recipes unless they match recommendations. Never taste suspicious canned food when in doubt. Throw it out. Safe for oxygen absorber storage are white rice, wheat berries, rolled oats, pasta, white flour, cornmeal, dried beans, lentils, split peas, freeze, dried foods, powdered milk. Commercially dehydrated fruits and vegetables that snap when bent, proof of dryness and safety. Unsafe are brown rice due to oil, whole wheat flour due to oil nut seeds. Home dehydrated produce, unless completely dry, fresh garlic, fresh onions, anything with visible oil or fat. Now that you know how not to die, let me show you how to store 5 times more food in the same space. The advanced move, hybrid storage systems. Here's the play most people miss: combine methods for maximum efficiency and minimum cost. Store bulk purchases in 5-gallon Mylar bags inside food-grade buckets for protection. When you need to rotate supplies into active use, repackage portions into glass jars or PET bottles. This is how you store a year's worth of food in a closet instead of filling your entire basement. Example, buy 50 pounds of white rice. Store 45 pounds in a 5-gallon Mylar bag with 2,000 cubic centimeters of oxygen absorbers inside a food-grade bucket with gamma lid. Store 5 pounds in quart glass jars with 100 cubic centimeter absorbers in your pantry. When you empty a jar, refill it from the bucket, keeping your active pantry organized. Deep storage is space efficient and cost effective. One big purchase, multiple storage methods, maximum flexibility. Another advanced method for those who already own vacuum sealers, vacuum sealing glass jars for shorter term storage, 1 to 3 years. This works well for foods you're actively rotating through your pantry. It's not as effective as oxygen absorbers for true long-term storage vacuum. Sealing removes 90% of air. But it's faster, and you don't consume absorbers every time you repackage something. The hybrid approach recognizes not all food storage has the same role. Deep storage you hope to never touch can be bulk and inexpensive in 5-gallon buckets. Active rotation storage you use weekly needs to be convenient in jars and small containers. Medium-term storage for seasonal supplies can use PET bottles that are free and stackable. Match container to use case, but there's one more method that saves even more money. Critical oxygen absorber mistakes. Oxygen absorbers start working the moment you open that sealed package. You have 15 to 30 minutes maximum to get them into sealed containers before they become useless. The iron powder starts rusting immediately when exposed to air. This is why you prep everything first. Jars clean food, measured lids, ready labels, and markers ready. Then you open the absorber package, drop them in containers, and seal fast. Every minute you waste is money evaporating into air. Smart preppers package absorbers in sets of 10 inside small Mylar bags or mason jars. This way, you're not exposing your entire supply every time you need a few. Open one small package, use those 10 absorbers, immediately seal leftovers in a mason jar. The absorbers will keep working until all oxygen in the jar is bound, then they stop. You can reopen that jar weeks later, they'll start working again when exposed to new oxygen. Test old absorbers before trusting them. A good absorber packet feels soft and powdery inside. An expired absorber feels hard like a rock because all the iron has already rusted. If it's hard, it's dead, throw it out immediately without hesitation. Using expired absorbers is the same as using no absorbers. Your food will spoil unseen. You won't know until years later opening it to find mold or rancid grain. Size matters more than most people realize. Use 100 cubic centimeters for pint jars, 200 for quart jars, 300 to 500 for gallon containers, 2,000 to 2,500 for 5-gallon bags or buckets. Using too much doesn't hurt. Using too little means oxygen remains and your food degrades. When in doubt, round up. Better to spend an extra 10 cents than lose 50 pounds of rice to oxidation. But absorbers only work if your containers are actually sealed, which brings us to shelf life reality. Real-world shelf life. What actually happens over decades. White rice in sealed container with oxygen removed at 70 degrees lasts 30+ years. Wheat berries last 30+ years. Dried beans last 30+ years with texture changes. Pasta lasts 30+ years. White flour lasts 10 to 15 years. Powdered milk lasts 20. But only if storage conditions are right. Precision determines survival over decades. Those numbers assume proper storage conditions, cool temperatures below 75 degrees Fahrenheit, dark environment away from direct sunlight, truly airtight seal verified by testing, oxygen removed to below 1% with absorbers. If conditions fail, shelf life drops dramatically. Store in hot garage where temperatures hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer, cut shelf life in half. Store in direct sunlight, nutrients degrade and flavors go off within years instead of decades. The best storage location is consistently cool, consistently dark, and consistently dry. A basement that stays 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit year-round is ideal. A closet on interior wall, away from exterior temperature swings, works. A pantry with no windows works. Temperature stability matters more than specific temperature. Food stored at constant 75 lasts longer. Food cycling between 60 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit degrades faster. Stability is survival. Multiple documented cases exist of preppers opening 20-year-old storage to find it perfect. These aren't manufacturer claims. These are real people who stored food and tested it years later. Reported results online in survival communities. The methods work, the physics works, the chemistry works. All you have to do is follow the steps and not screw up the basics. The one method nobody talks about: original package inside Mylar. Here's the technique that deserves way more attention. You've got a 50-pound bag of rice. You don't want to repackage all 50 pounds into jars. Tedious and time-consuming. Place the entire unopened original bag inside a large Mylar bag. Drop absorbers around it. Seal the Mylar bag with heat done. Simple, efficient survival perfected. Now I know what you're thinking. Mylar bags large enough aren't almost free like jars. You're right, a 5-gallon Mylar bag costs about $2 to $3. But here's the economic breakdown that makes this worth it. Repackaging 50 pounds takes hours. You need approximately 50 quart jars. Even if free, you still need 50 absorbers. That's $10 in absorbers plus 2 hours of your time, or $3.05. $3.05 versus $10 and 2 hours, the math is brutal. Plus the original bag stays intact. When you need rice, you open the Mylar. Scoop out what you need from the factory bag, reseal the Mylar with your hair straightener. Done. No transferring, no mess. No wondering if you contaminated anything during repackaging. The factory bag is already food safe and sealed. You're just adding an additional barrier. This works because you're creating secondary barrier that holds the original package secure. You're not opening the original bag, so you're not introducing contaminants or breaking factory seals. You're not transferring food, so you're not wasting time or creating mess. You're just adding protective layer that extends shelf life from 6 months to 20 years. Same concept works for flour, cornmeal oats, anything in paper or thin plastic bag. The original bag probably has holes or tears you can't see. It's porous to air and moisture. It's not designed for long-term storage. Wrap it in Mylar with oxygen absorbers for protection. When ready to use, open the Mylar outer layer, the original package intact, clean labeled, ready to pour. No guessing what's inside, no faded marker writing the factory label tells you everything. This is especially valuable for foods you're actively rotating, not long-term storage. If you'll use that 50-pound bag within 2 years, you don't need 30-year packaging. You just need something better than original bag sitting in pantry, absorbing moisture and inviting pests. Mylar Overwrap with oxygen absorber gets you from 6-month shelf life to multiple year shelf life. Almost zero effort compared to repackaging into dozens of jars. Now let's talk about mistakes. The bottom line: synthesis and action steps. Clarity forged from survival discipline. Lessons condensed into action steps, carved into memory. Precision demanded by time itself. Synthesis becomes survival. Survival becomes order. Order becomes the only truth. Action steps, etched in steel, sealed in Mylar, carried forward into decades of resilience. Food storage doesn't require expensive equipment or professional-grade containers. You need 3 things: suitable low moisture, low-fat foods, airtight containers, oxygen absorbers, the essentials of survival. The containers can be free glass jars, free PET bottles, or reusable Mylar bags that last decades. The oxygen absorbers cost 20 cents each. The food is whatever you buy in bulk on sale. Step 1. Identify what you want to store. Start with staples you actually eat. White rice pasta beans, oats flour. These are the foundations, the staples of survival. Don't store exotic foods you've never cooked when you need them. You won't know how. Preparation matters. Knowledge matters. Without it, food becomes useless when survival demands clarity. Step 2. Collect free containers or buy Mylar bags. The choice defines longevity. Clean glass jars thoroughly and verify lids. Seal precision matters when survival is measured. Verify PET bottles are food. Grade number 1 recycling symbol. Visible airtight seals confirmed. If buying Mylar, get 5 ml thickness minimum strength is protection. Protection is survival. Step 3. Buy oxygen absorbers in appropriate sizes. Precision matters when survival is measured. For most home storage, 100, 300, and 500 cubic centimeter sizes cover everything. Buy in bulk because they're cheaper per unit. Efficiency is survival. Survival is clarity. Store properly in sealed containers. Discipline extends shelf life. Order becomes survival itself. Step 4. Prep your workspace. Discipline begins with order and clarity. Clean everything. Have all containers ready. Precision is survival. Survival is discipline. Have labels and markers ready. Clarity matters when chaos presses against the walls. Have absorbers in sealed jar next to you. Work fast once you open absorbers. Step 5. Package your food absorber in first food and seal it tight. Label it with contents and date. Clarity is survival. Precision is discipline. Done. Food sealed, labeled, stored. Order imposed against chaos. Survival etched in glass and steel. Step 6. Store properly. Cool, dark, dry location. Discipline defines longevity and survival. Away from temperature extremes, away from rodents. Vigilance is protection. Protection is survival. Check containers periodically for compromised seals. Order maintained against chaos pressing in. Step 7. Rotate your supplies. Use oldest. First, replace what you use. This keeps storage fresh and ensures you know how to cook with what you've stored. These steps work whether you're storing for a week, a month, a year, or 5 years. The principles scale. Your budget dictates how fast you build reserves, but the science doesn't change. Oxygen removal plus proper containers plus suitable foods equals extended shelf life. That's physics. That's chemistry. That's reality. Survival written in steel glass and oxygen-sealed silence. This is educational information for home food storage based on documented methods. For specific food safety questions or emergency preparedness guidance, consult your local agencies. If you have health conditions or dietary restrictions, work with a healthcare provider. Emergency food planning becomes survival planning. Survival planning becomes reality. When disaster strikes, you're on your own for the first 72 hours, minimum, usually longer. Response times during major events stretch to days or weeks. Survival depends on preparation. Having food stored using these methods means you're not competing for limited resources. Knowledge plus action equals survival. Ignorance plus complacency equals dependence on failing systems. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Survival begins with discipline and clarity. Store food while it's cheap and available. Learn these skills while you have time to practice. The best time to prepare was 5 years ago. The second best time is right now. Stay sharp, stay fed, keep your family safe when the world stops pretending everything's fine.